welcome to the quickest game show on radio. The rules are very simple. We take no contestants from a non-existent studio audience, and at no point do we ask them a series of questions so that they can't win any money, cars, washing machines, or whatever one might not win on such a show if it existed, which this show most definitely does not. Neither do we have these people, of which there are none, solve puzzles, do assault courses, dance with a minor celebrity you've most likely never heard of, or sing a cover of a non-existent Nicki Minaj song off-key in front of some rude, arrogant, talentless, middle-aged hair gel users. And we most definitely do not care where the non-existent attendees of this non-show come from, what they do for a job, which balding overweight relative they have looking goofy in the audience, which doesn't exist, or how long they've had their pet gerbil Sammy and how many children they have nailed to a shed at an undisclosed location, which I can't say with any absolute certainty doesn't exist or not even be a thing in the first place, which this absolutely isn't. This is the end of the show, not that it was a show anyway. Goodbye, or is it? No. And now, over to the After-Movie Diner, which this week tastes like a week-old whelk in a Wellington boot that was called William by a washerwoman who wears wall-to-wall carpeting and weighs too much for someone who only eats Weiss. Oh, you can just put that anywhere, Patrice. Just don't get it wet. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the After Movie Diner, and we're going back old school diner this week, and hopefully several weeks in the future. I want to go back to doing the show the way we used to, because it was so much more fun and silly and just more fun, and I think you guys liked it. Send your answers to that on a postcard to an address somewhere in the Maldives, and people will ignore it. But anyway, this episode we're covering the films Pontypool and Stakeland, and we actually got some great comments online about these films that, because last night when we recorded I was a little fuzzy-headed, I forgot to get to with our guest, and so I'm going to do that now. It's not going to be the same as having a discussion about your questions, I'm afraid, but at least you will feel included, and I do want to include you because you're all awesome. Anyone who comments or shares or likes or anything like that is by far the best of the Diner listeners. And also, it means we get an old school jingle. So why don't we kick it old school with a commenting on the internet jingle? Commenting on the internet, they're commenting all over the internet and not all over my face. That's quite enough of all that tosh. So anyway, Paul Adonis Rawlings commented on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/aftermoviediner, quite obviously. He commented and said, I know so many will disagree with me, but Stakeland had so much going for it, then just fizzled to a non-interesting end. I did say that I would discuss that with the guest. Sadly, as I said, we didn't get a chance to. My honest opinion to that, Paul, no offense, sir, is that I don't feel that way. I enjoy the ending. I understand the ending. And I see the way that the movie kind of builds up to that. And we do talk a little bit about the ending in the show, so we'll maybe kind of get more into our opinions then. But thanks ever so much, Paul, for commenting. Please do keep commenting, and please, I do hope you enjoy this show when you hear it. Thanks ever so much for the message. The other comment we got was on our Facebook group, which is a little harder to do. I should have really picked a better URL, but essentially it's facebook.com/groups/AMD and DAATKAK. You're never going to remember that. So just go to the website, and on the website there is a link to the group. Or look up After Movie Diner or Dr. Action on Facebook, and the group will come up. Anyway, please do join the group. That would be wonderful. We'd love to hear from you. And one of the people we heard from in the group was Peter Pedro Osmond, who does those amazing cartoons of Gemini and other people like Statham and Seagal and stuff that you see on the website. He also did the Dr. Action and Kick-Ass Kid logo on the website. So you can see Peter's work all over the place. He is a phenomenal artist. If you have any need for a freelance cartoonist and or artist, I would definitely talk to Peter in the group. Anyway, he says, the ending of Pontypool, what's your take on the black and white scene at the end? Because even though I love the film, I have zero idea what that's all about. Also, would you rather piss a golf ball or shit a brick? So, Peter, well, I didn't know about the black and white scene. I watched the movie and turned it off during the credits. So actually, when I saw this question, I went back and watched that sequence. And I have to say, I honestly don't know what it means. We talk in the episode about what I think the film overall means, and I was trying to somehow kind of crowbar in that interpretation of the film with that last black and white scene, but I really can't. So I honestly don't know. I don't know. I would have to watch it several times and or speak to the person who made the film to find out. I can't even hazard a guess. That's really pathetic, but I'm so sorry about that, Peter, but I really can't hazard a guess at that. As for would I rather piss a golf ball or shit a brick? Shit a brick. Because I don't want my man parts to be out of commission. But if I shit a brick and my colon is out of commission for a bit, yeah, that's uncomfortable and painful, and I have to wear a catheter and whatever. But, like, it's better than ruining your man bits. So I'm going to go with that. And Doc Paul Crowson says, who is Dr. Action to my kick-ass kid, he says, would you like to see a hybrid of these two movies, either called Stake Pool or Pontyland? Much love, Doc. And then he says, you better read this out. Well, I just read it out, Doc. Would I like to see a hybrid of these two movies? No, because I think the movies are kind of perfect as they are, which we get into in the show. But essentially, I think if you put them together, while I like Stake Pool and Pontyland as titles, I think you would end up diluting the awesomeness of each movie by colliding the two. There we go. So, if when I put out those messages, either in the group or on the page or on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that, you want your comment read out and answered by me or by me and the guest, then please don't forget to comment. Comment. Join the page, facebook.com/aftermoviediner, and find the group and join the group. There is a link to the group on the page. There is a link to the group on the website, aftermoviediner.com. Legends have been written about my guest on this week's show. Legends, ballads, racy haikus, and dirty limericks. He has the largest collection of brushed mauve moccasin slippers on the eastern seaboard. In 1998, he scaled the Matterhorn on a tricycle with Jimmy Stewart's grandniece and a postal sack full of heroin. He is the father to 75 adopted puffins that he auctioned off to the Haiti Bono and Sean Penn Relief Fund, which is a fund to try and keep Bono and Sean Penn as far away from Haiti as possible. To date, they've raised $750 million and several revealing pictures of Helen Hunt that were mailed in from Holland. He has pickled more fruit than you've had hot dinners. He plays the sack butt, the milk can, the fly swatter, and the dirty Bellamy, which is a sort of trombone made out of beard hair, old sex, and pudding. And he's one half of a Shakespeare Sister cover band. It's the one, the only, Mo Porn. Hello, sir.
98. That was a good year.
Yes, it was. And why do you choose to go rock climbing with heroin? And Jimmy Stewart's grandniece, how did you meet her? What's the story behind that?
Oh, well, you see, I was in a bar one night, and she walked in with the sack of heroin and said, "Let's go mountain climbing." And you can't say no when that happens. You just can't say no.
You can't say no. Well, she's a striking-looking lass, is Jimmy Stewart's grandniece. That's for certain. And it's been a minute. It's been a minute and a half.
She looks and sounds a lot like him.
Yeah, which is why she's one of the sexiest ladies alive. So she's like, Mo, will you come rock climbing with me? I can't really do Jimmy Stewart. That was awful. The only one I can do is from Rear Window.
That sounded a lot like her.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like it. Yeah, you've got to allow, it's not just an impression of Jimmy Stewart, people have to understand. It's an impression of a female Jimmy Stewart. So it's a slightly different kind of voice. But he in Rear Window, obviously, where he's like Lars Thorwald. Yeah. So anyway, that was Jimmy Stewart's grandniece, and she was a nightmare, really. I mean, beautiful woman, wonderful singing voice, but really not someone that you really wanted to be halfway up a mountain with.
I mean, great in bed, though. Great in bed.
Yeah. At Connect 4. which is what she played in bed.
Exactly. She was very, very much like her great uncle.
Yeah. Who was also a Connect 4 champion, but only, weirdly enough, when he was in bed.
Is there any other way?
And when I say Connect 4...
Oh, that's awful, man.
Isn't it really bad? I can't do Jimmy. I used to be able to do Jimmy Stewart, but it's sort of like this. Why? No, that sounds like Bane. I don't know what I'm doing now.
That does sound a bit like Bane.
It's a bit Bane-esque.
Bane-esque. Yeah.
Bane of my existence. So, how have you been, Mosef? What have you been up to since last we spoke?
I've been pretty good.
Nobody's going to get that because I cut the Bane reference out.
Oh, okay. Never mind that. I've been good.
In fact, it's been a while for us, but actually for the listeners of the podcast, you were just on like about 3 or 4 episodes ago doing the Microwave Massacre.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's the last time you heard Mo, and it's been 2 or 3 weeks into October, and I still haven't put up a second podcast yet. So I'm recording with you tonight, Jim, on Thursday, and I believe I'm recording with Scott Toomey either this weekend or early next week. So that'll be the 3 podcasts that'll fill up the rest of October. I might even do a 4th one and just put more than 1 out in a week. Just flood the market. Who knows?
Bring those prices down, you know.
Yeah,
just flood the market. Bring the prices right down.
Yeah, flood those all important podcast prices down. Yeah, I recently had a bit of excitement over at the After Movie Diner Facebook page where stars of Ash vs. Evil Dead, Dana DiLorenzo, and former Miss Xena warrior princess Lucy Lawless shared my article about the 35th anniversary of the Evil Dead, and it reached over 100,000 people.
Did you immediately cream in your pants?
I did. What I immediately did was contact them both and see if they would do an interview. As yet, neither has responded. and both of them has wished that they never shared the fucking thing in the first place.
Well, I hope for your sake and for the sake of your pants that they do.
Me too. Yeah. It was, the article was shared over 670 times, which I didn't even think was possible. So that's the After Movie Diner going viral, about as viral as the After Movie Diner ever will. We'll never pick up those all important million numbers, but we've picked up some thousands, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing I ever did to going viral is when the guy from Birdemic followed me on Twitter. that lasted about a week before I just unfollowed him.
Well, one of my favorite episodes I ever did with you was on kids' movies. We did what were the 2 movies we did?
We did Heavyweights.
And Snow Day. That classic Snow Day, the Chevy Chase.
That underappreciated gem.
Yeah. We should do another couple of kids' movies at some point. That would be fun.
Yeah, we could do Blank Check. And
Dunstan Checks In.
Oh, no, come on. We could do First Kid.
No, we should do Dunstan Checks In and Joey. No, is it Joey? No, what's the monkey one with?
Eddie?
Eddie. Is it? No, it's got Joey in it from Friends. That's why I think it's called Joey. But
yeah, I can't remember the name, but I know exactly the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, and you think it's the name of the monkey, but really it's his name. And the monkey...
ape-related children's films.
Yeah, but definitely Dunstan Checks In, though. That has to happen. So look for that coming to a podcasting format
in 2018.
In 2018, the After Movie Diner goes to the places you never thought possible when Mosef Porn and Jon Cross cover Dunstan Checks In.
I figure we have figure we have to wait until 2018 so that we're not going to just constantly be making Harambe jokes the whole time.
Right, and also so that the comedy of us covering Dunstan Checks In is finally relevant. Because I predict that in 2018 we're going to have that nostalgia-fueled Dunstan Checks In revival. And we'll be able to skirt right in on the wave of that.
You know what, though? That makes just about as much sense as, like, the swing revival of the 90s, so why not?
Why not, yeah. And who will be the Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau to lead us into this glorious new age of Dunstan mania? It'll be me and Mo. I'll be the Vince Vaughn and Mo will be the Jon Favreau, and we'll be, or either way.
See, I was gonna say, I feel like it would be the other way around because you'd be the Jon Favreau because at least he has some talent.
Oh. I'm not entirely sure about that either. Considering the best Iron Man movie didn't come along until he stopped directing them. But no, that's unfair to Johnny Favs. Johnny Favs is fine. We're big fans of the Favs, the Favster. The Fav Force 5 here on the After Movie Diner. But this week, because it is Horror-tober here in the After Movie Diner, we are covering 2 horror films. And just to show you how lazy I am, I watched 2 horror films on a Saturday morning, thought they were okay, immediately texted Mo. Can we do a podcast on these 2 things I've just watched so I don't have to do anything else?
And thankfully for you, they're both movies that I really love. So I'm like, yeah, fuck sure.
Yeah,
why not?
Exactly. And do you want to say what those 2 movies are, Mo?
Yeah, we're going to be covering Stakeland and Pontypool.
And Stakeland is from 2010, and Pontypool is from 2008. And what's hilarious about that is that I feel that for about the last year, people have been saying to me, you should watch these new movies, Pontypool and Stakeland. So that tells you, like, as you get older, 8 years ago and 6 years ago are considered new movies. You know what I mean?
Well, it's really funny. You mentioned to somebody on my Facebook not too long ago, I think it was yesterday or maybe even today, about like naming some good movies from this year because we were both pretty convinced that there weren't really any. No. And then I was thinking to myself, well, going outside of the mainstream, so to speak. And I thought to myself, well, there's House of Forbidden Secrets. That was pretty good. And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, yeah, that came out 3 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, so what it comes down to is that it basically means that the 2 movies that came out this year, Don't Breathe and Green Room, which everyone is fucking banging on about. Jesus Christ, shut up about them already. I will probably get round to watching in 2022. So when
I'm usually about 10 years late on good movies. So
I like to sit there and go, there have been no good movies for a decade, and then I go, once that decade has passed, I then go back and go, oh, that wasn't too bad. That's normally the way I work.
But that being said, I also just watched Heat and Training Day for the first time this year. So
that's fine, dude.
I'm a little behind, yeah.
And did you think Heat went on a little too long and had too much Val Kilmer, or is it just me?
See, the funny thing is I actually didn't realize it was Val Kilmer until about halfway through the movie because I thought it was Guy Pearce.
I just think that's the worst wig. Like, I can't believe that was in a movie. Like, that long blonde wig he wears. Yeah. It's like the worst wig.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
And there's no need for him to have that hair. Like, he could just have his own hair.
No. Absolutely.
And apart from that, I find that the De Niro-Pacino matchup is somewhat overrated in that movie. I'm more of a Righteous Kill guy. I think that was a really great... I'm obviously joking.
I was sitting here trying to figure out if you were kidding or not. Don't know.
I was definitely kidding. I think I sat through Righteous Kill once, and I was like, oh my God, how do you put Pacino, De Niro, and Brian Dennehy all in a movie together and make it this bad?
I've never seen it, so I probably won't.
That's the best way to see it.
To not see it?
Yeah, to never see it. That's the best.
Sounds like a plan to me.
It was during Pacino's 88 Minutes phase where he was like churning out movies like Simone and 88 Minutes and Righteous Kill.
Go see Simone. Hooah!
I knew that we had come to the end of days when Pacino movies started to go straight to video. Like, I'll accept Dolph Lundgren going straight to video, but Pacino should never be going straight to video. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a sad day. But that happened.
Well,
so
yeah, basically with, like you knew the end was coming when you got Pacino going straight to video and fucking De Niro phoning in all of his performances. Just a shame.
It is a tragedy, but I tell you what isn't a tragedy, and that is 2008's Pontypool. And they don't phone in their performances; they radio them in. Did you see the way?
Yeah, segue.
Segue. And I'm not talking about one of those twatty hoverboards that hipsters have. It's an absolute powerhouse performance by Stephen McHattie. Who is one of those wonderful that guys. Mo, what do we know Stephen McHattie from?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know him from Pontypool. I haven't really even thought about anything else he might have been in.
We know Stephen McHattie from such movies as 300, Watchmen, The Fountain, although I've never seen that because it's hipster and awful. History of Violence he's in. Oh, he's in Pay the Ghost with your friend and mine, Nick Cage.
Ooh.
Oh, he's in Shoot 'Em Up. That's maybe where I know him from. And along with the other that guy, William Sadler, he's also in the Jesse Stone series with Mr. Mustache himself, Magnum P.I., Tom Selleck.
Ooh.
Which I've never watched any of those, but I probably should because it's got like a bunch of actors in that I really like. And I don't mind kind of cheesy made-for-TV mystery movies. I'm quite a fan of those, actually.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the series.
Yeah, they're the ones with Tom Selleck on the front cover looking pensive and into the distance with normally something in either orange or blue in the background that's maybe a small town and or someone running from a burning car or something to make it look like it's exciting.
Sold.
But if you're ever looking around Netflix, I feel like Jesse Stone for a while was like the Netflix thing. They like had them all on there.
I don't know. All I know is that just the opportunity to listen to that dude's voice more, I would totally go for it. He has, oh my God, it's like angelic.
Yeah, in Pontypool, he plays Grant Mazzy, who is a one-time shock jock in the style of
Bubba the Love Sponge.
No. Yeah, he's kind of a mix between Wolfman Jack and Howard Stern. And he's been basically fired down the ladder over the last few years and has ended up in the smallish town and or area of Pontypool in Canada, right?
Yeah, Ontario.
On Ontario, where he is doing an early morning show where all his job is to kind of read the weather, do the school bus run, announce the news, all that kind of stuff. Like very menial. You're waking up in the morning and you just need the info before you go off to work kind of stuff. And he's trying at the beginning of the movie his shake up the pot conspiracy theory crazy kind of what's the word, like mixer, like he's mixing shit up. He's trying to do his like shock jock mixing shit up kind of thing.
Yeah, he's trying to be like a firebrand, and it's just not working.
It's not working, and his producer is just like, can you please just, for the love of God, can you please just stick to reading out the bullshit? And then it is into this scenario where he's sipping an Irish coffee and getting more and more pissed at his producer. that suddenly they start to get reports of attacks and a possible demonstration that's taking place outside a doctor's office who has been under investigation for prescribing certain medicines. And then it turns out that these reports might be culminating in some form of a virus outbreak, which most people would lazily call zombies, but they're not really.
Yeah, I don't buy into the zombie thing. Like, they're not dead; they're infected. And it's like it's one of the best like twists in a film ever too. For anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet, just stop, go watch it, then come back, listen to us talk about it.
Oh, it has been far too long since I did a spoiler song, and I promise that I won't get it wrong. Now I'm starting up this spoiler song. Well, way back when I used to do one each week, and now I think I'll bring them back. Oh yes, because it's something that I think the new shows lack. It's the thing that belongs, it's the spoiler songs. Oh, it has been far too long since I did a spoiler song. Oh, it has been a bit too long since I did a spoiler song. And now it's going on too long. Its appeal has passed. So maybe I should stop playing and we should get back to the show. I didn't rhyme that. Bollocks.
All right. Well, after that lovely spoiler song,
I'm moist.
Yeah, I'm like sitting in a puddle right now. I did also shit my pants, so that's probably the bigger problem. Smells lovely though. Is that so it turns out that instead of it being viral or airborne or in the blood or anything like that, it's actually the language is infected. And like there is a moment in the film where they get like there's this French their signal is interrupted and there's this French recording that plays that and I love Grant Mazzy's like realization of what he just did as he's finishing up the like reading the translated message where it says please do not translate this message,
right? And he doesn't speak French, but of course his producer and is the producer assistant, is that her kid or is she just
No. She's just an intern or she's just a producer's assistant, but she was like a war hero. Like she had gone off to fight and then came back.
Right.
And and so that was like the whole big thing with her. But that's it. She's not like related to any of them at all.
No, okay. So and she speaks French as well. And the interesting thing is,
well, he speaks a little.
Right.
Yeah. But
the interesting thing is with the whole movie, I mean, all the best zombie virus, group psychosis, alien invasion of the body snatcher type movies, in other words, where something happens to the populace, all the best ones have some kind of underlying metaphor that they don't hit you over the head with, but like if you choose to kind of pick it out of the action, you can. And I think this one, with her being the war hero, and then with that big speech he gives at the end where they can hear helicopters overhead shooting civilians, basically, or shooting the infected. He does this big speech over the airwaves because they know that they're also broadcasting on speakers outside the old church that they're broadcasting from. He does this big speech about all you're doing is shooting frightened civilians. Like all you're doing is, and that today is no different from yesterday, and it'll be no different than tomorrow. The sun comes up and the sun goes down, and it's not the end of the world. It's just the end of today. And he does this big speech about shooting frightened civilians, and all you are attack dogs, and da 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 da. And that, coupled with her being a war hero, coupled with I think the idea of not understanding the language or not understanding the message or not understanding each other based on the virus being in the words, I think that has to do with a lot with our conflict, which obviously in 2008 was sort of much more prevalent. I think that has a lot to do with our conflict in the Middle East. The idea that we had a president who didn't understand the difference between like Sunni and Shiites, and there was conflict going on, and still is, but like conflict going on, and the rise of terrorism and all the rest of it, and us flying overhead with bombs and guns and taking them out, and not just that particular conflict, but you know, Vietnam and the Falklands and Korea and you name it, like just that idea of the big aggressor just hovering over the populace, and it not being the populace who are at fault, but being a fringe part of the populace, but instead all we do is shoot frightened people. And there was something, I think, tied into that. It's not a squeaky clean metaphor. It doesn't fit absolutely every little bit of it. But no. I certainly took some of that away. Otherwise, it would seem odd that she was a war hero, and it would seem odd that he would give that speech at the end about just shooting frightened people if there wasn't something in there, I think.
Right, yeah. No, and I mean, I feel like the politics of this movie are beautifully subtle. They don't hit you over the head. That's perfect, you know. And it shouldn't have to. It should be a movie that like, even if you're just looking at the surface layer of it, and this is not just a surface layer film. There's definitely a lot of layers in there. But even if you're just watching it on surface level, it's still a brilliantly done movie about, you know, this strange new form of infection that's wiping people out, or you know, or making people go crazy.
And you could say the politics is probably at its best Canadian, meaning it's not being. It's
very apologetic.
Yes, it's not being it's not being horribly rude about anyone or to anyone, but it's not hiding away either. It's just being diplomatic, but to the point, and Canadian. And
sorry.
And also the other thing. sorry about that. All Canadians have now switched off, except Doug Tilley, and
who was never listening.
In the first place, and is probably sat there going, "John, you're wrong. You're wrong about everything, John.
You're wrong, but I'm sorry."
Yes.
he's sitting there like tearing a pillow in half, just seething.
Yeah. So no, I mean, in terms of a movie like this, it's set predominantly in one location, with
it's a bit of a bottle episode.
Yeah, with a minimal cast, and therefore it's about ideas. It's about, and also if you think about it, the concept of it traveling via language, it has to be about the dialogue versus the action. Now that doesn't mean you don't see, you know, a crowd of infected people, and there is gore and there is some violence and but it's not on anywhere near even the scale of a low budget thing like 28 Days Later. It's not even on that scale.
No, not at all.
And I feel like this is my favorite kind of low budget movie. In other words, the script is king and the performances are king. You find a decent location that is set up as best you possibly can, and you shoot the fuck out of the script and the performances. And, you know, you think of stuff like Clerks, and there's a new one coming out called The Similars, which is shot in Mexico, which is all on one location as well. Or you think of certain Twilight Zone episodes, or, you know, there's various things. There's a couple of... I looked up, there was a couple of horrors. There's one that I think is set in like an ATM vestibule or something, like in a bank where they're locked in, and it's all just sort of... The Thing is another great kind of claustrophobic one setting kind of... There's all those...
The Descent?
The Descent, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a bigger scope on the caves, but like, again, it's a very kind of claustrophobic.
But it's still very, very claustrophobic, yeah.
And yeah, anything that you could mount on stage as a play and it be exactly as effective, I think that's what this is. And I think the more
I would watch a Descent play.
Yeah, definitely. No,
only if it was a musical, though.
I was trying to sort of think the other day, though, you could mount the thing as a play without necessarily needing all the special effects. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
The script and the tension and
exactly because the thing plays off more like a fear of the unknown kind of thing, where it's like it's paranoia, and paranoia is so psychologically damaging, that in and of itself, even if you take away the monster effects, it's still, I mean, there's a lot of murder mystery films out there that the entire horror aspect of it is just the paranoia, and that works just as good.
Yeah, it does, definitely. And I think that more indie films should learn from something like this, which is because so often you watch a lower budgeted film and you think to yourself, okay, you've managed a couple of effective gore effects or monster effects or something, but then the rest of it is badly acted and badly written.
Yeah, it's a lot like it's about like 85% of the stuff that we cover on No Budget Nightmares, whereas you have like a really poorly written script, but there are several decent effects in it, and me and Doug feel like it should almost be the opposite. Like, spend the time, write the script. Script is way more important than the effects. Effects are cool. I love when they're done well. But if you take the time, write the script, you'd have such a better movie. Even if it's badly acted, like as long as they're like giving it feeling, then it's fine. As long as it's a good script, I'll take a good script with bad acting over a bad script with good effects any day.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that, obviously I'm just thinking now, obviously Reservoir Dogs falls into that, although there is a bit of the heist stuff at the beginning. And a couple of other locations. The main bulk of the action takes place in the warehouse, and there's no reason, in fact, actually, had he had more guts, maybe he would have filmed the whole thing in the warehouse and just let the thing play without any of the flashbacks. But that is one of Pontypool's strengths. Is the script and the performance and the fact that they found this one location. And so that means that when you do get some horde of people shuffle into the station and stuff like that, they don't need to have some huge crazy set of effects. You're already scared, you're already built up, the tension's already there. Mm-hmm. You already care about your protagonists and you don't want them attacked, so they don't need to look like horrendous ghouls or have any kind of big facial prosthetics or anything. They can just come in and be people and be equally frightening just because of the amount that there are, rather than necessarily, and also the fact that you know what they're capable of based on what you've been told. You don't need to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's equally terrifying when he has those. I think the first time we really see it is when he has those singers in, and the little girl just starts kind of rambling to herself. She's like, "I don't remember how it ends. I don't remember how it ends." And then she's just going pra 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 pra, and it's like something fucking serious is about to happen, and this is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, and that's also obviously another nod to the conflict in the Middle East, because it's meant to be a musical of Lawrence of Arabia. These kind of what we call in the UK amateur dramatics. I don't know what you have here. It's like summer stock or stuff like that.
Summer stock,
but
yeah.
It's sort of that idea of people who have lives as lawyers and dentists and marketing men and car showroom guys or whatever, on their weekends stage Hello Dolly or Annie Get Your Gun or Gilbert and Sullivan musicals or whatever it is, and this little troupe of people have decided to do Lawrence of Arabia, but they've all got weird and, to be fair, like offensive costumes on. Like the two girls, for example, the two young girls have been made up in brown face, and one of them is dressed as one of the older guys is dressed as Osama bin Laden and seems exceptionally happy about that fact, and it's sort of very proud. Like, it's sort of this weird little surreal, almost Kids in the Hall moment in the middle of this, like
Yeah, especially when the song ends and he like lifts up the fake Uzi and starts firing it up and going, no. I'm like, oh, yeah. Jesus Christ, man.
And it gives a great
with a giant smile on his face too, which is the best part of the whole thing.
And it gives a great moment for Grant Mazzy because he initially during the day he keeps getting calls from who we presume to be his old producer, who's maybe trying to apologize or at least trying to kind of see how he is, and he's just like, fuck you, whoever. I forget what his name is.
I think his name is Rich or something like that.
He's like, fuck you, Rich, listen to this. And he's like, puts the phone up to the singers and he's like, by the way, that's a guy dressed as Osama bin Laden firing a plastic Uzi. And then he hangs it. He's like, fuck you, Rich, and hangs up. Like, I love that bit. That was so funny to me. And it kind of took the edge off the kind of offensive, I mean, on the nose and meant to be kind of the fact that people were laughing at this conflict at the same time, or like having a misunderstanding yet again of what it was all about.
Right.
And yeah, that was it. It's odd undertones like that. Like I say, it never sits up and shouts it at you, but you're suddenly like, wait a minute, why is there this family in here, and why is one of them dressed as Bin Laden, and why do the girls have brown face on? And
well, I like too the fact that like he never calls the girl by her name; he always just calls her Faraj.
Right?
Or is that what he calls her, Faraj?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah,
or am I just thinking of Nigel Faraj? I don't know. Whatever.
Nigel Faraj, probably. That little fucking turtle-looking cunt nugget. Bigoted pansy in a trench coat. So, so I don't have like a huge amount of specifics to say on Pontypool beyond what we've said, but like I'm definitely glad I watched it. I'm definitely glad that people recommended it to me. It was Jim Wallace, I think, my regular co-host, who recommended it most strongly to me. But I'd heard other people talk about it as well, and it definitely goes on my list of movies from the last 10 years that are surprisingly good, and yet don't necessarily like are surprisingly good, but then the bullshit still floats to the top, and we still get The Conjuring 8 or Annabelle 2 or fucking Saw 15 or whatever the thing it is. And I'm like, there's these cool little movies being made normally in Canada that are actually doing something with the horror genre that we haven't seen sort of since the 70s, which is kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I feel like the first time I saw it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was the same sort of thing. Like I remember just thinking to myself, this is something kind of special, like, you know, and it's almost a shame that we don't get more stuff like that. But I don't feel like movies like this would ever have a huge like mass appeal, which is a shame because they should,
right?
You know, but most people just don't have that kind of attention span,
right? But it's fantastic, and I guess, you know, I'm just looking here, and the tagline on the movie when it came out was "Shut Up or Die," and I guess like the other thing you could take from the whole idea of it being in the language is kind of what we're facing right now with this election is whatever side you're on, whoever you're with, like you just want it all to shut up. You just want the noise to stop. I don't know about
I have had a headache for the last like 3 months, and it just will not go away because I'm constantly, and it's like this tension headache. And I have friends, I'm sure you do too, but I have friends on both sides who are very vehement about their side, you know, and how wrong the other side is. And it just hurts my head so much. Like I used to be very much so the type of guy that would fall into that sort of name calling, you know, just because the other guy is the other guy kind of thing. But I feel like this election, if it's done anything, has got me out of that habit because like it's really easy, you know, to call Donald Trump a monster or to call Hillary a crook or whatever. But there's so much more to it than any of that, And like, I feel like the name calling just takes away from the facts of which are much more devastating, than any name calling could be. And I don't want to get too fucking political or anything like that,
So like, I just feel like it's the coverage. You can't win for losing sort of thing with this guy. It doesn't matter if you put him on the air, then he is sucking all the other noise and air out of the room, and it's all on him, and it's all about him, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. He is going to take it and run with it. And it's so frustrating. It's so, yes, he's horrible and awful, but like, it's the reporting on it that makes me want to pull my face off.
Right, exactly. So it was really interesting, that like that's our current situation. Now, granted, that's been our current situation for quite a while now, but
it's that idea that wait a minute, like, we should all shut up.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the problem is that the people on the right who love him will never shut up about him.
And that's almost a way to look at Pontypool as well. Like, you look at the mob mentality, and you look at the repetition, which is part of the virus. And you think about that, the repetition of slogans in a mob mentality devouring each other. And that's essentially what you have with modern media. I suppose some comment on the internet as well, and also on political journalism. And it's just a populace repeating slogans, devouring each other. And that's a really fascinating time to watch this movie, because it definitely speaks to that, I think.
Absolutely. Like, it's really weird to be alive right now, because like, I feel like there have been some pretty heated, presidential elections, like even, like just in my lifetime, going back to like the late 70s, obviously mostly in the 2000 and on, but I feel like this is the first presidential election I've ever lived through where people are genuinely going to lose friends and drastically, permanently alter relationships because of who they're backing. It's really, really weird.
It is. And it's, I remember I started off October with, I'm just going to talk horror movies. Everything I put out on social media is going to be horror movies, and I'm going to do some funny GIFs and some memes, and put out the podcast, and I'm going to put out my articles, and I'm going to insulate myself and just be like, no, I don't care about any of this stuff, and I'm not going to post about it, and da-da-da-da-da. And it wasn't more than like 10 days went past, and I'm just like, it was like eating into my skin. Like, I just was like, I have to somehow, and I understand it's just screaming into the void, and I understand it doesn't change a single person's mind, but I just had to sit there and just go, like, I just had to post something, because I was about to go fucking ballistic.
Yeah, see, I don't have the option of not doing that. Like, I said many, many months ago that I was going to stop posting political stuff, and that lasted, I'll give myself credit, it lasted about a month. Of me, like, okay, I'm just going to post funny shit. I'll post articles that I think are funny, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm right back into posting the political stuff. But it's like, for me, it's almost impossible, like, especially with Doug as my co-host, and he's very political and he's very anti-Trump, and like, so he'll bring it up, like, even like it's a fucking no budget horror podcast. And like we're talking, we don't talk a lot about it, but the fact that like this no budget horror movie podcast is talking about, modern politics it just goes to show you how fucking crazy the whole thing has gotten.
Yeah. It really has. And
he's Canadian, so he doesn't even have any fucking, ironically, he also lives very close to Pontypool.
Yeah, and also probably has the greatest world leader at the moment. Like, Trudeau is like, he's a genuinely great leader. And England can't claim that, and France can't claim that, and Germany can't claim that, and I don't know the situation in Australia. They probably have someone who's fairly laid back, I would imagine, but I don't know.
Australia just passed a motion in their Parliament House, whatever they call it, proclaiming Donald Trump like a bloated slug and unfit for office, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Like leave it to the Australians.
Yeah, well, that's fine. They can sit down there with the Great Barrier Reef and wall-to-wall skin cancer and tell us all about it. Like, that's fine. I don't mind. But no, it's yeah. I don't want to go off on Trump, but it's just
let's not go down there.
My biggest thing is just that you can't argue with stupid. You can't argue with crazy. You can't.
Well, there's a better terminology for that. It's like you can't argue with zealots.
Right.
It's the same thing with religion. You can't argue with zealots.
But it's not like, at least, I don't know. I guess at least with religious zealots, there's some sort of like coalesced or cohesive focal point. This is just a general barrage of bigotry and nonsensical, anger.
Sure.
Anyway, I brought it up merely to say that Pontypool makes some nice little nods to this situation and this scenario, and therefore it is definitely as relevant today as it ever was, and is, apart from maybe that Bin Laden reference, but we're not too far out from that people don't know what that is.
Right.
And if anything else, it's one of those powerhouse performances that just have to be seen. I mean, everything from his pitch perfect radio voice.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
To his ridiculously cheesy leather cowboy, urban cowboy kind of look that he has going, to his play with his producer, who I need to look that up, but she was great too.
Just remember, John, Sidney Breyer's alive.
Yeah. That's who it is, Sidney Breyer, played by Lisa Hoole.
Yeah, that's the actor. That's the character's name,
or
Sidney
Lisa
Breyer.
Hooley. Is it Hoole or Hooley?
How is it spelled?
Houle.
I would pronounce that Hoole.
Hoole? Yeah, so would I, except my friend is Kirk Howley, and he is Howle. So maybe she's Hooley.
Maybe.
But answers on a postcard, please, to After Movie Diner, Towers, 784 Diner Road, Brooklyn. That's not a real address. But you can send it to that address, and whoever lives there will be happy. So Pontypool, watch it. It's currently on Netflix, has been on Netflix for a while, and I believe it's one of their more popular titles.
I would assume. I don't know.
Well, we've reached the middle of the episode. Hello, everybody. And if you're still listening, and I do hope you are, here's just a little bit of information about the After Movie Diner. You can find us at aftermoviediner.com, on Facebook at facebook.com/aftermoviediner, on Twitter at aftermoviediner, and wherever podcasts are found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, YouTube, TalkShoe, and soon Blog Talk Radio. Wait for news on that exciting thing soon. You can download, subscribe, listen, all the good stuff to the After Movie Diner. But we would like to urge you to rate and review. Rate and review, rate and review. However you get your podcasting goodness, rate and review. Not just our show, all the podcasts you listen to, because it's the only way that us little guys are going to float slowly to the top over a period of many, many, many years if every single person who listens to this show gives us just a rating on just click some stars. Literally takes a second. Click some stars. That is better than nothing. If you can write a 3-word review, like huge hairy balls, just put that in and then give us a star rating. Just do that on iTunes. That really, really, really helps. And lastly, if you want to support the After Movie Diner, 2 great ways to do it. First of all, go over to patreon.com/After Movie Diner and donate per episode. And it's really great. You can do $1 per episode, or $3 per episode, $5 per episode, $10 per episode, whatever you want to do per episode. But then you can also decide how much you want to give a month. So you could say $5 an episode, but if you only want to give $10 a month, it will only be $10 a month. You could do $3 an episode. If you only want to do $10 a month, then instead of it charging you $12 for 4 episodes, it'll just charge you $10. So it's very, very, very cool. Head over to Patreon. That is the best way. Another great way is to bookmark aftermoviediner.com as Amazon. And then every time you make an Amazon purchase, click on your bookmark that says Amazon. It'll take you to the After Movie Diner. You'll go, wait a minute, why am I here? You'll click the Amazon banner on the After Movie Diner, continue on with your purchase completely and utterly as normal, costs you absolutely no extra money whatsoever, and Amazon gives us a little bit of a bunts kickback. So why don't you do that? Bookmark aftermoviediner.com as Amazon, and when you're making your regular Amazon purchases, Amazon says thanks for us having the banner ad on our site and gives us a couple of pence. It's not going to in any way allow me to stop working at my depressing day job, but it is, however, going to help us maintain the website, maintain the uploads of the podcast, maintain the costs of doing that, maintain all sorts of stuff that is occurred and accrued and whatever by us. So anyway, do that, help us out, rate, review, and in this spot, I want to see other podcasts and other adverts and other things like that. So if you have a promo or an ad or a podcast or a website or anything like that and you want me to read out a 30-second thing, contact me at aftermoviediner@gmail.com. I want to hear your ad here, not me. aftermoviediner@gmail.com or hello@aftermoviediner. Either way, doesn't matter. Now back to the show. So now, moving over to 2010's Stakeland, directed...
The slightly less subtle.
The slightly less subtle Stakeland, directed by Jim Mickle or Mickley. I don't know. Again, it's another L-E name, so it could be either. Written by the wonderful Nick D'Amici and Jim Mickle or Mickley. And it is a, I like to call it, it's Into the Wild with vampires. It's kind of how I see it.
With a slightly less tragic ending, but yeah.
Yeah, it's an Into the Wild with vampires kind of thing. Or Reese Witherspoon's Wild with vampires, if you want to just go with that. Or not that I've seen Reese Witherspoon's Wild, because I try not to watch any Reese Witherspoon film. But it stars the wonderful Nick D'Amici, who I saw recently, again, another first-time view that people have been telling me to watch for ages, Late Phases.
That's on my list for this month. I still haven't watched it yet.
Which is Bubba Hotep with werewolves. And it's actually, it is actually Bubba Hotep. I mean, take away the fact that he's, no one's playing a famous person, but meaning that it's an old age, not a rest home, but a community, an old age community that's being attacked by werewolves. And into it comes Nick D'Amici playing a blind veteran who kind of has to save the day. Sort of, I suppose, Gran Torino with werewolves would be another way to look at it. It's sort of like that. But Late Phases, awesome. I did not know what to expect, and I was not disappointed. Bit of a saggy, odd middle section, but I think that the vibe...
I was going to say, that's what I've heard. It's got a very... I think saggy is a good term for it, that the second act is a little slow.
Yeah, I mean, because it has, obviously, the establishing of the situation, and it has the climax. And then in the middle, there's a bit of sort of character development, which is nice, but you have to... I found you had to immerse yourself in the vibe of Act 1 in order to get through Act 2 happily. But you've got Tom Noonan as a kind of creepy, smoking priest, which is always fun, and Nick D'Amici. But anyway, we're not talking about that movie. We're talking about
No.
Stakeland, which, aptly enough, Stakeland 2 is premiering on Sci-Fi Channel. Weekend just gone, on the 14th of October. It just premiered. Stakeland 2 just premiered. So we're only six years too late. But it's also got a phenomenal performance from, at the time, a much younger actor, Connor Paolo, as Martin. And did you want to kind of quickly run through what plot there is, sir?
Yeah, I mean, the plot on this is pretty thin. It's basically, it's a man. Well, the story revolves around Martin, the I think he's supposed to be like 15 or 16, teenage boy who loses his family to a vampire attack. He's saved by Mister, who is the older vampire hunter, and they're working their way north to a place that we only that's called to us New Eden, which we do find out later is actually Canada.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll just make our way north to a place where it isn't filled with mad religious zealots.
Right. Just to find out that there are mad religious zealots, but we don't get any footage in New Eden other than them like entering into it. But I think it's and that's basically it. That's the whole story. Like they meet up with people along the way. People come, people go, people die. Most people die. It's kind of hard to be around Mister and not have violence coming your way every minute and a half, because this guy seems to just attract vampires like nobody's business. But I mean, it's a much less subtle film. It's really just more about the act of survival and in this world being overrun by vampires.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, in comparison to Pontypool, it's not an empty movie.
No,
there is stuff being said. Like in a weird way, the best comparison for my money is the Dawn of the Dead sequence, probably the first act of Dawn of the Dead, meaning that it's almost the humans in this world that are more danger to you than the monsters.
Well, there's a scene earlier in the film where Martin's talking to a shopkeep, kid, and the guy, and he asks him where they're going. He says, "Oh, I'm going to New Eden." He goes, "Oh, it's like I hear there's nothing up there, and frankly, you don't need to worry about the vampires. You need to worry about the cannibals."
Right. But there's also. So basically, in this land, in Stakeland, there is no government. There's no government, no police, no nothing. And it's a bit like The Stand in the sense that some human groups have been formed who are sort of charitable. Some human groups have been formed that are... They're self-protective. They will let you in to stay the night. So there's like a safe zone. It's a bit like Walking Dead or whatever. There's a safe zone. In fact, they even use a train to kind of block the entrance to one of these safe zones in the same way that they do in The Walking Dead. But they're not going to shit on you, but they're not going to be like super nice either. They are going to like pat you down. They are going to make sure you're not going to come in and destroy the thing. They are self-preserving. So there's those guys. But then the worst people they meet, that literally comes back to bite them in the ass, is the religious cults.
Brotherhood, yeah.
The Brotherhood. Throughout America, there are these religious cults who are essentially, rapists, killers, abusers, slave drivers, all in the name of the Lord. And not even in the name of the Lord, in the name of this, like, one preacher who believes he's doing the Lord's work. Because it's one of those, like, we abused these people, but we ended up getting food and money, or we ended up getting gas and whatever we needed from them. So look, the Lord has provided because we abused for the... It's one of those kind of deals where he's he's kind of hanging on to his leadership by a thread, but only because he keeps kind of providing for his people, who sort of believe in his gullible ways. And before we meet him, we meet his son, who was just horribly abused a nun, and is attacked by Mister, who, along with hating vamps, also hates. He's kind of like a bastard with a heart of gold. He kind of hates.
Yeah.
He hates shitty people as well as hating vampires, but he's also a killer. You know, he just flat out takes these two guys down who've attacked this woman, takes the woman under his wing in his car, with Martin as his sort of trainee, kind of like a Miyagi and Karate Kid type.
His protege.
Protege, right? That's the word I'm looking for. And it turns out that one of the guys he attacked and then subsequently who dies once they crawl back to camp was the son of this religious zealot leader, which sort of puts Mister on his shit list. And there's probably...
And he kills him with such a cool weapon that we never get to see it again.
Yeah, it is one of those one-use only things.
Yeah, it's just like this awesome, like, tire iron looking, four-sided stakes, and he like throws it at him, gets him right in the back. It's like that whole scene's kind of fucking brutal, but and then he just like leaves it with him. Like, for fuck's sake, man, it's an awesome weapon. Take it, use it again.
But it's definitely a movie that has. It's a slow burner. And the reason why I say it's Into the Wild is it definitely has that kind of drifty, dreamy, folk music-y type speed to it and vibe to it. They wander from place to place, either getting into conflicts and or getting into new relationships. In other words, meeting people that they then look after or gather together a group and so on and so forth.
Right. It's very reminiscent of those, and there was a lot of these in the 80s, those post-apocalyptic sort of, we're looking for a safe harbor type movies, where except those movies, like, were all very reliant on speed, on keeping everything going, keeping everything super fast, whereas this one just slows it down to this perfect kind of ebb, of motion. Definitely. And I feel like if they had done it the old-fashioned way, where it was just a bunch of speed and you're constantly the car chases and blah blah blah, it would have just really made this movie. In fact, I think the best thing that happened in this movie was when their car breaks down and they have to sort of fend for themselves out in the wild.
Yeah.
And it grinds the movie to a halt, but in the best possible way.
Right, because it kind of gives the protagonist a chance to kind of almost, because there aren't vampires in the woods in the same way that there are on the road or in the towns, it gives them a chance to kind of not play house, but like play camping, as if they're like outside camping, and as if suddenly the world is all right again, and they almost live in a world without that threat.
Right. And even Martin says it. He goes, yeah, there's no vampires out here, so it's like everybody stops talking, everybody becomes more introspective. And he says, I realized that I stopped thinking and dreaming about my former life and my former family because I had found a new one.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it's not so underwritten that it becomes mumblecore horror. I think it dances. I think it dances along the lines of that. I think there is a certain aspect to it. It's certainly an art house indie horror. That's not to undersell it though. There are plenty of like awesomely cool moments in it. Like they kind of pick and choose their cool vamp attacks or their cool religious guy attacks. Like they pick and choose the bits where, okay, we're going to make the threat real again. And there are some nice little touches where some of the vamps have evolved into berserker vamps.
See, I thought that was such a great like twist on the whole vampire thing, because like there's only really one other movie where like the vampires don't have fucking cheesecloth chests, and that's who did it? Was it John Carpenter's Vampire? Was that who did it? Vampires from back in the 90s?
Well, that's James Woods and Cheryl Lee.
Yeah, right. You know, it's like where it's like it's much easier to just attack them during the day and drag them out into the sun, you know. And it's the same sort of thing with this. There are vampires, like as the older they get, like the bone in their chest like hardens, and it becomes a lot harder to kill them with a stake through the heart. And he tells them, oh, you have to stab them in the base of the brain, you know. And it's just a nice little twist, so that when those, like, for lack of a better term, evolved, you know, vampires show up, that it becomes that much more life or death stakes, you know.
Well, they also have this fantastic thing where each vampire, even if it's just one vampire that kind of wanders into their trap, because every night when they go to sleep they set up noise traps and bear traps and stuff around wherever their dwelling is for that night. Even if it's just one vampire, and even if it's Mister, who is a proven, you know, when people meet him, they're like, oh my God, we thought you were just a legend. You know, he is spoken of in hushed, hallowed tones about his vampire kills.
Yeah.
And he carries around a bag of teeth that he's extracted from his vampire victims. Even he can't take one down by himself with ease. You know what I mean? Like, it very often takes him, Martin, and sometimes one other person to just take down one vamp. And it's never clean, it's never easy, and it's always messy. And what that means is that rather than a situation where you have to have 100 vamps, but all you need to do, like in Buffy or whatever, is kind of point a stake towards their chest and then they disappear in a digital effect. Each one is a fight. So what that means for a low-budget movie is that you can make up one guy to look like a really cool vamp or whatever kind of vampire you want, and then you can have a whole action set piece where the tension is high because you know how difficult it is to take them down. But it also means that, like, taking them down you can do with practical effects. So you can have blood spurts, and you can have viscera, and you can have, you know, their eyes wide and their mouths screaming or whatever it is. Like, you can do it with very little sort of showmanship and it still be very effective. But it also plays into the story because it means that each vamp encounter is a definite threat, rather than it being like, oh, he'll take this one out easy with a bow and arrow, you know. And I found that to be very, very effective, so that when they had the scene in the car graveyard, the junkyard, and you get like 6 or 8 berserkers bouncing across the tops of cars or coming down the hill, you genuinely fear for everyone's safety and existence, because one is bad enough, 6 is almost undoable, you know?
Yeah, and that scene in particular has actually one of the best lighting effects I feel like the entire movie has. There's a moment where Martin kind of gets knocked into a car, like he's in the seat, and the vampire's coming up on him, and like there's just this sort of like, it's all very dark, but there's this one hard light across his face, and it's just beautifully shot. It's so it's just a gorgeous shot. It's only there for a couple of seconds, you know, but it just works. And then like Mister takes him out, and he comes up, and you get just the shot of him just looking at him and go, run, you know. And it's like, that's the other thing. Like, this movie is really beautifully shot.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of great technique done Which is another thing that, like, I feel like more low budget. I know a lot of these guys are, to pardon the pun, just cutting their teeth, with these low budget films. But like, there's a lot, I feel like more filmmakers should like take these chances, try to work out like more interesting ways of showing the things. And Stakeland's a great example of how far that can go, because like there's not a ton of dialogue, there's not a ton of story, there's not even really a ton of action. It's just it's about atmosphere, it's about setting, and like I feel like Stakeland does a really spectacular job of selling that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's and both movies that we're covering today are exceptionally technically well made. There's not a shaky cam handheld.
No, because there's no need for it.
It's all proper, old fashioned, well lit, well designed filmmaking. And look, they could have filmed this all within a 10 square mile radius of each other. It felt like you were traveling with them. It felt like you went the distance. It felt like they went over different terrains and were in different areas and so on and so forth. Like it was an effective road movie, and I love road movies. I'm a big fan of the structure.
I know you do.
Yeah, and so having this movie, what I liked about it was that it had just enough cool without trying. It wasn't like that Robert Rodriguez thing where he's like, look out, there's something cool is about to happen. It felt very realistic. So the characters would do something, and if it happened to be cool, it happened to be cool. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
and
right.
Like him taking down the two rapists, like the way he did it was just sort of effortlessly violent and cool and whatever, but without it being showy or noddy or winky or anything like that.
Well, that's the thing. It's like everything that Mr. does is practical. It's not. He's not going out of his way to try to be impressive. He's like it's very tactical. It's very measured and thought out, and he doesn't just go full tilt at anything. He stops. Like it's one of the only like action films I've ever seen where you see a guy just literally just stop and think for a second of how he wants to handle something. And then, because like the entire movie, you got to remember also that a lot of it is him like teaching Martin how to do what he does. So, so like everything for him is a teaching moment.
Yeah, completely. And in fact, that's almost like right up to, again, here's another spoiler song. Oh, there'll be spoilers. There'll be spoilers up ahead. Baby. Oh, there'll be spoilers. There'll be spoilers up ahead. Baby. Well, maybe you want to turn the show off, go watch the film instead. I can't stop you, but I can tell you, ooh, there'll be spiders up ahead. There'll be spiders. Enjoy that, thank you. The twist at the end essentially is that Mr. doesn't abandon Martin until, first of all, Martin finds someone who is equally as adept as him at taking down vampires. But secondly, once he feels Martin is ready. So there is this aspect of the whole movie essentially just being about, like, once Martin no longer needs me, I will go off and find a new protege, one would imagine. I mean, I don't know whether they are reunited in Stakeland 2 or what. I don't know that storyline at all. I know that I've heard that it's not as good as the first one. And it seems odd, like 6 years later, to try and kind of cash in on this. But maybe it came out in 2010, but it's taken this long to kind of gain an audience or gain a following. I don't know. And it doesn't seem to be written or directed by the same guy, Stake Land 2. It's certainly not by Jim Mickles, so I don't know.
But yeah, you're right though. At the end, the I forget her name, but the woman who Martin ends up with, she's in the back, sort of shooting vampires, and she gets one like right square in the chest, and then another guy shows up, some dick who she went to high school with, and she's like, yeah, I can never get a clean shot on him, and Martin's just like, well, I'll take care of him, and yeah, you see him go out there and you see him handle the situation, not necessarily with ease, but like, with a certain amount of finesse, and and Mr. is standing off around the corner kind of listening to the whole thing happen, and that's sort of when he realizes, like, yeah, this dude's finally fucking ready.
And yes, apparently Connor, Paolo, and Nick D'Amici as Mr. and Martin are reunited in the sequel for people wanting to check that out. And it's called The Stake Lander is what the sequel is called.
Really?
Yes. That's
fucking awful.
But that's what's called. And it's written again by Nick D'Amici, but directed by two people. So Dan Burke and Robert Olson direct the sequel. But no, I would definitely recommend, if you're for some thinky, moody, slower-paced horror, Stake Land and Pontypool have some really amazing atmospheric and thoughtful aspects to them.
Yeah, well, when you suggested these two movies, I said to myself, like, that's a really good combination of films. Like, this is a great double feature.
Yeah, because they're simple. They don't try and outdo any other film. They have aspects of the movies from the 70s that we love without going, look, we're doing a homage to the movies from the 70s you love, by the way.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They genuinely do their own thing. They're genuinely saying something about the human condition. And they're both technically expertly made and look tremendous and blow shit like, the paranormal haunting in Connecticut, Annabelle Activity movies out the water, and that's what made me very happy about the two of them, because I hate to bang on about it, but I do hate lazy, shitty filmmaking when time and time again we're proved you don't have to do that.
Right.
And your budget is not an excuse. You can't tell me that a tripod is expensive, because it's probably going to be the cheapest piece of kit you buy. So a tripod does not cost a lot.
Now sometimes, you want to just sit down and watch a shallow piece of shit film, and that's fine.
Right.
So there's a place for everything. But I feel like as long as movies like these are put out, every few years, and like we're in desperate need of something like this again. Although I hear The Invitation is good, but I haven't actually watched it yet.
That's on Netflix as well, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's on my list, and I plan on watching it. But I feel like as long as well made, well written, horror movies like this continue to get put out, like, I'll be happy. That's great. But yeah, I mean, there's a place for everything. But like, I really appreciate the fact that stuff like this even exists.
Yeah, and look, don't get me wrong. If you are either Danny Boyle or Peter Greengrass, you can get away with waving the camera about all over the place. If you're Jeff in his backyard, buy a tripod, because if it's filmed well and I can hear what the people are saying and the script is written well, I'm going to give your movie way more marks than if all you've done is take your phone and wave it at some friends saying nothing that's very interesting, and occasionally you throw some fake blood at the wall.
Or worse yet, digital blood.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or worse yet, go, I can't mess up my mummy's kitchen, so here's some really shitty digital blood. But yeah, no, Stakeland and Pontypool. It's a great double bill. It's a great Sunday afternoon, I feel. I would start, weirdly enough, I watched them the other way around. I started with Pontypool. I would actually start with Stakeland and get into the mood and then finish up with Pontypool. That's how I would do it.
I agree.
I would sort of watch Pontypool early evening going into night, and I would watch Stakeland on a Sunday afternoon. That's how I would do it. So do you have anything else to say on the matter, Mo?
No, other than go watch these. You know, they're both on Netflix. They're both really easily accessible, and they're both 100% worth watching.
And I just watched, what did I just watch? I just watched The Windmill, also known as The Windmill Massacre, which is out of Holland, which is...
of course it is.
Yeah, which is, I think, got some buzz over in Europe, because I think it's been out there for a while. But is set to be a bit of a cult hit here in the US. I would certainly wait, dude. I don't know whether it's going straight on video demand or whatever. I would honestly wait to get to Netflix or something, because while it was good, there's nothing bad about it. It's also not. It's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, and I actually just watched. I have been really obsessing lately about like found footage films that are doing it right, you know, because there's so few of them.
Oh, like Diary of the Dead.
Yeah. Or you asshole.
Actually, some of Diary of the Dead I think is done really well, actually. But.
And there's a handful. There's only a handful of found footage films that do it right. Like Troll Hunter does it spectacularly. But I watched, and I wouldn't say this is one of the upper echelon, but I really enjoyed it. And it's new and I hadn't seen it before. But that movie Creep, which is also on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was surprisingly good. And like it does this great thing where it subverts the jump scare and like whenever you take like a classic trope and just turn it on its ear and make it interesting again, like that shit sort of makes me laugh. And I feel like Creep did a really great job of just utterly subverting your expectations with jump scares. Awesome. Which made me very happy.
So that's two more on my list then, The Creep and The Invitation.
Yeah.
So I will be watching those before October is out. To keep up with what I am watching throughout Horrortober, you can on Letterboxd. Just look up After Movie Diner on Letterboxd, or indeed follow us on Facebook, either in the Facebook group or on the Facebook page, links to which are available all over the website. And Mo, where can the good listeners find you and bug the shit out of you if they so wish?
Honestly, the only real public place, I mean, they can go to Twitter, but I never go on there. I mean, if you write me, I'll write you back, but I don't post anything on there. Twitter, it's Drunk on VHS. Or on Facebook, if you want to come on there and find me. The only real place to do that is to go to facebook.com/groups/No Budget Nightmares, all one word, or just do a search for No Budget Nightmares and ask to join the group and feel free to bug me on there.
Well, thanks ever so much, sir, for joining me for what I feel like has been an interesting and exciting rundown of these two films, and thank you very much for being part of the After Movie Diners Horrortober series.
Indeed.
I have been downtrodden and beaten down. Under my cowboy hat I wear a frown, and I used to be the class clown when I was back in school. Now I'm living here in Pontypool. It's a cold and snowy Canadian winter, and every relationship here just splinters, and I just read what comes off the printer. No room for boat rocking or cool on the radio in Pontypool. And I just moved here, it's just another day, and I will die here no matter
matter what I say. I got whiskey in my coffee, and my message is for the birds. It's not in the bloodstream, it is in the woods. It's all just fury, it's all just noise. People get frightened by them government boys. Every day we deal with it while maintaining our poise. But all of us are running low on fuel, living here in Pontypool. Kill is kiss, that's the rule, living here in Pontypool. Yeah, kill is kiss, that's my rule, living here in Pontypool.